What's up, guys? If you give me 2 seconds here, I'm sharing our page here at Shut the Puck Up. Shut the Puck Up is brought to you by, of course, as always, P1 Sports Network. I should be having a co-host here in a few minutes. Unfortunately, our good friend Adam got sick yesterday, so we are he's with us here in spirit, and probably will be on to make some comments at some point. Um, But unfortunately for right now, you got me, and I think I got a special guest who I will announce whenever he is ready to hop on. Um, he's we're up here staring at the Northern Lights in Jersey, Pennsylvania. So we're a little bit busy now. But all right, boys and girls, here we go. Got somebody who's walking behind me. So we're going to talk the beginning of the NHL season, the off season, things of that nature. Uh, Feel free to comment if you will. Don't you don't have to, but we're live on two platforms right now. Um, the start of the NHL season is upon us. We got the Devils starting out 2-0, and then tonight I'm gonna chalk it up to fatigue and travel. They're unfortunately getting their butts whooped by Toronto. Our guest here's up in Pittsburgh, but the Northern Lights are all the way as south as the Jersey Shore, at least that I've seen pictures of online. But up here, they're kind of wishy-washy, a little bit on the horizon, a little bit above, but I'm a little closer to New York City, so light pollution kind of washes things out. Hopefully, you guys are having a great night and a great start to your hockey season. So we're going to start off with the big news this week, and I'll discuss my takes on it. It's going to be a fairly short show tonight, unfortunately, guys. Because it's don't have much to talk about. The off season's been kind of what we've been talking about, like here and there. And the last episode we did, the off season was all we talked about. So really wasn't much to talk about this summer. We did a free agency episode, so we're just going to catch you up. This is season 2, but I'm going to wait for Adam to be here to to premiere his artwork and to premiere his wonderful, wonderful song again. Um, Mostly because for some reason I can't get it to load tonight. The song, at least, our theme song. For those of you who haven't heard it, um, but we'll start with the biggest news coming out of New York. Igor Shesterkin turned down $88 million over 8 years. I don't understand how you do that. Um, He'd be the highest paid goalie in the NHL, and frankly, one of the highest paid players in the NHL. And in a really big market, he must not, in my opinion, must not have the confidence to stick with him. Um, you know, the Rangers haven't really done anything with him there, which is unfortunate because they are, normally a fairly decent rostered team. Um, Looks like I forgot all my drinks here. Oh no, there they are. Got my water. They are a fairly decently rostered team, but they've always, even with those rosters, never seemed to really get it done since the '90s and 2000s. Which, is what it is. Being a Devils fan, you know, you, you you like that rivalry. You hate losing games to them, but that rivalry being competitive is good for the Eastern Conference and the Metropolitan Division. So I'm not really rooting for the Rangers to do well. I am, however, rooting for the rivalry to go well. I think you know I think the better both teams are, the better hockey we're gonna get. Um, so uh, give me your thoughts when you click on this. This will also be posted tomorrow once it fully loads to the um, the Peak One Sports podcast page as well. Um, and the Shut the Puck Up page as well. Um, if you guys can't check us out tonight, make sure you check us out tomorrow. Um, or while you're sitting at work bored. I know we got a lot of people out in Stars Country in Dallas who follow us. I'll give you, my thoughts this year on the Stars. I think you guys are, aging, but that roster seems to, be like no matter what the age is, seems to, kind of have it figured out there. And you do have some young guns coming up that'll keep you guys with some youth power and experience. It's usually a good mix there. I would, however, say personally, I think you got. mm, See, I think you got probably a second round run out of them down there. Um, I think the Devils, with the star power and the veteran leadership, and getting healthy and getting league average goaltending, even though we're getting smacked around right now by the Maple Leafs, I think we got a good shot to make a deep run this year. I think the Devils are, Eastern Conference championship at least this year, and I think we end up in the cup finals. I'm not sure they have enough to get over the hump just yet, but it's hockey, man. It's never really exactly predictable. Um, Out of the West, the Avs are looking good again this year. It's the usual suspects. So I'm gonna get hop into some upset, some teams that might surprise you this year. Minnesota and Nashville are the two that come to mind. Minnesota's made all the right moves. Nashville's made some decent moves. Um, and I think those two are gonna surprise some people with how they play this season, especially early on. Um, but that's kind of always how it goes. Um, Darn, my comments thing isn't working. Where is it at? There it is. There we go. Um, so welcome in for those of us just joining me. We'll have a co-host here shortly enough, I believe. Let me check on him. Adam is unfortunately out sick since yesterday. So he, at least me and the rest of us at Peak One, wishing Adam a quick recovery and hoping to see him feel better soon. Um, let's see what. Yeah, all right. I believe in a few minutes we're gonna get a very special Mark Maraday sighting. Um, he he hasn't hopped in quite yet, but we're gonna talk his Pittsburgh Penguins, and if we got to circle back, we got to circle back. So what do we got going on up in Pittsburgh right now? It's the beginning of Sidney Crosby's 20th NHL season. Kind of got spoiled by the Pens getting smacked around last night, which is what it is. Um, you can't win them all. At the end of the day, that team I think is still strong enough to make the playoffs, but they're old, man. They're they got some young guys, but they're old. I don't really think they got a deep run left in them. Hold on, we got a buddy of mine walking behind me here. Yeah, what's up? That's Ken. I'm Kenny. Um, for those of you who know me, I also go by Reckless. Um, for those who know me and don't know me, but back to the Penguins, I think they got a pretty deep run, pretty deep roster here. Um, I think they got, maybe a couple more playoff runs in. I'm not sure how deep. I don't think it'll be that deep. Um, but it'll be a decent roster for the season. Should be competitive at the very least. What happens in New York is going to be one of those things we are all in the hockey world like staring at right now. Us over here at Shut the Puck Up, and you know, broke the news a full 24 hours before any major news source did. Thanks to our connections here to Mr. Kevin Weeks. So I'll give him a shout out and a thank you for the early heads up on what he was hearing. Um, so he's a decent source up here for basically he talks to all Devils fans because apparently he loved it up here for the very short time he played here. Um, and still resides here, which is pretty cool. Um, but let's get on with the rest of the divisions here. Give a quick breakdown. We got coming out of the East. I think we got to talk about whether or not Ovechkin can catch Gretzky this year. He's out 40 goals behind, 45 goals behind. So it's he's scored 50 basically every year of his career. So it wouldn't be surprising this year, but I think the dude's playing at least until he catches up to him. Him and Crosby have that fake little rivalry going since they both got drafted the same year, um, 1 and 2, and that's been going. I think that's more the fans being like, less of an actual rivalry between the two guys. But they've had some great battles over the year. I think those Caps missed the playoffs again this year. Um, they're an aging roster. They don't got a ton of roster or I'm sorry, cap space to really add anything to that roster. Um, which is unfortunate because they've been fun to watch for a very long time. Um, and coming out of that like I forget what it's called now, but it used to be kind of that Atlantic Conference there. I think you're going to see the who else is in that? Oh yeah, the Leafs I think are going to have, or sorry, the Habs Canadians I think are going to have a decent season. Um, Boston's always going to have a good season. I forgot to mention them earlier. They got their goalie situation figured out. Um, they had the two of the best goalies in the league last year. You can only keep two for so long. So over the offseason, they made the decision to keep Swayman, which out of the two of them, a little younger, they're equally talented, but I think that's the one you stick with. Um, heading continuing down the coast, and our thoughts and prayers here, and I know everybody at Peak One feels the same way, or with everybody in Florida. My family personally down there is all safe. I've gotten in contact with all my friends down there. It took all day for some of them, but everybody in my circle is safe. So I hope everybody in your circle is safe as well. Um, make sure you're reaching out. The Red Cross is a great resource for that. You just got to give a name, and if they've checked in at any Red Cross facility, checked in, like even if their cell phone was damaged or lost or anything like that, you'll be able to get a like a hey, they're good, at the very least. Um, and I know donations are going to be needed for hospitals and everything down there. So if you can, and you have the ability to, the Red Cross is amazing, um, an amazing resource for even the United States Army and veterans, and the VA, and um, wholeheartedly support them here at Shut the Puck Up uh, and Peak One Sports. And again, thoughts, prayers with anybody affected in Florida. I know you guys probably can't see this because of the power and internet and all that good stuff being so wonky down there. Um, Now let's keep moving. We'll move to Florida, Tampa Bay. The Lightning have evacuated. I don't think they have a game scheduled, but if they did, I imagine everything's going to be postponed for quite some time for them. It's going to take a while to clean up Tampa, at least the area surrounding the arena, which is right on the coast and everything. Um, but they look to be, as always, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with out east. Um, they're I don't think they're going to be as good as years past. You got an aging. They don't have Stamkos, who's been their major goal scorer. He moved on to Nashville. He moved on elsewhere. Not bigger and better things, but a little bit more money, and he's doing a little. You know, Nashville's a fun city. From what I understand, I've only been there in passing, but even the airport had live music. Um, so Nashville's a fun city. I haven't really spent much time there, but it looks like a fun city. Everybody says it's a fun city who's spent any time there. And yeah, shout out to Vandy for beating Bama. First time since 1940 something that they beat a AP top five team, which is pretty awesome. Um, so heading back to that coastal area there, we got We got the Florida Panthers down in Sunrise, Miami area. Um, they're uh, they're going to look to defend their cup, their Stanley Cup championship this year, and they got a mostly unchanged roster. They are going to be a tough out for anyone who meets them. If anybody gets, if they get to the conference finals, whoever they play, is going to have a real hard time. I see a couple of teams that have grudges against them that they'll face before that. Boston, um, teams of that caliber. I just they're so good. And they didn't really get much older. They have a young, talented squad. Um, and again, we haven't really another shout out I'll do in a minute. Um, and then moving back north and a little bit further west, um we'll touch on the darn, my head just went blank. We'll touch on the Columbus Blue Jackets, and that tremendous loss to the Blue Jackets had over the summer. Johnny Gaudreau, a Jersey boy, grew up playing hockey in New Jersey. He's a couple years younger than me, so our paths really didn't cross much. But when he got to the high school level, and ever I was home on leave, I definitely made it a point to check out where he was playing. Um, if it was close enough for me to get to. That kid was such a talent for the state of New Jersey, for the Columbus Blue Jackets, for Calgary. He will be deeply missed. If you didn't catch us, we did put all the donation pages out. I'll put them out again at some point. Um, but our prayers are with that family. Um, that wedding was supposed to be the next day. It's just horrible. His brother Matty was, also a New Jersey native. Didn't really follow his career too much, but he was, played at Boston College, played some minor pro hockey. Never really made it up to the NHL, but another phenomenally talented hockey player. Lost way too soon for because of dumb reasons, that out of his control, unfortunately. Outside of that, we have, that's the sad part. I'll get it over with. We got the Flyers. I don't think the Flyers have done enough to get better. That's not just my hatred of the Flyers. That's talking. That is a little bit of everything talking. I don't really, the changes there. I think they're waiting, for a couple of those older contracts to expire. They kind of had a little bit of a bump and a surprise last year. Um, and kind of started pulling things together. I think they continue to do a little bit of the same. I just think it's going to take them a couple more years to get to that level where they're hitting the playoffs and things like that. Um, where is Mark? Somebody to discuss this with. Hop in the comments if you got any comments, either on Peak One, um, that'll pop up right to me, or if you're over on our page at Shut the Puck Up, you're gonna have to click to the Peak One that'll pop up right to me because kind of can't switch back and forth right now while I'm live on camera for you guys. Um, and then if you're watching later, by all means, we're only going to do, about a half an hour, maybe 45 minutes, if Mark hops in. But, mostly doing preview stuff if you're just joining us. Um, we'll head, keep our direction going west. The Columbus Blue Jackets, I'm not sure what they're going to do this season. They could come out, just on fire, inspired by both loss and the tragedy of losing like their superstar at such a young age. That team has really rallied all summer around the family and around everybody else in that organ, anybody else connected to the Gaudreau family. Basically the whole state of New Jersey, even though he kind of snubbed the Devils, uh, basically was has kind of like taken up the Gaudreau family, which is really nice to see. But again, I think that the Blue Jackets are a wild card right now. It's a coin flip um, on what they're gonna do. Um, that, the Red Wings also kind of like in that wild card. They keep getting better and younger, but I think they're still a few years off. They might squeak into the playoffs this year as a wild card. Um, maybe finish in that top three, top four of the division. You never quite know till you know, unfortunately. Um, we're going to continue to move on. I didn't take many notes here. I figured, me and Mark would kind of be playing off of each other, but he seems to have gotten busy tonight, which is perfectly fine. Adam's still under the weather. We're gonna continue our little trek west. We got Montreal, which I forgot about a little further east. Whoops. Uh, I think this season's gonna be one of those seasons for their managerial and coaching staff, because that fan base, up there, the francophones up there are not patient. Um, and Habs fans are quite rabid. Um, I head a little bit west of that, directly over the state of Ohio, and somehow further south than Detroit. Toronto, even though they're beating us up tonight, they've got all their money wrapped up yet again in a couple of players. That's been their strategy for years and years and years at this point. At some point, they're gonna have to make a decision to actually fully rebuild, um, which I know the fan base and everybody will hate. Um, but they got the right guys to rebuild around. Austin Matthews specifically. That contract is a bit of an albatross, but the only way you're going to get better is you got to draft well, and you got to be get a couple of decent high draft picks. They've been on handing out super large contracts to all their stars for years at this point, and it's hasn't exactly worked out for them. And continuing our trek west here, we will hit Nashville, which the bit south of that, which I think Nashville's going to have a good season this year. Nashville should make a middle of the pack run on in terms of conference wise. So they should be that like that top wild card spot. Um, at least they might figure out how to win that division. If that division's not as good as it has been in past years. Um, but you never know with with Nashville right now. The rabid fan base kind of like rouse those guys up, and they could be ready for anything at any second. Um, that team is difficult to beat at home. That team is difficult to beat on the road. They always play a very hard nosed game. Ever since Barry Trotz was there. Um, Team I forgot out east, is the New York Islanders, which I think I I don't have any confidence. I think they're going to be in the bottom of the division this year. Um, I think Lou Lamoriello is a bit out of uh, out of his old talent that he had for building teams out of nothing in the pre-cap era. He kind of just band-aided the Devils together for a bunch of years there until it stopped working um, after the 2012 Cup run. So I see him doing that up up in New York on the island. Unfortunately, Islanders fans, you're not going to like to hear me say that, but losing John Tavares for nothing, like Lou was confident he'd sign him in the offseason when everybody was looking at it. Yeah, he's going to Toronto. It's where he grew up. There's pictures of him in bed sheets on the internet of him, like of his Toronto Maple Leafs bed sheets. There was no real question of where he was going to end up. Um, and again, I wish John Tavares all the best up there. He went home. You can't really blame a guy. But we're gonna go back to our trek west. I believe we got Minnesota next on that list. Minnesota, I think, again, I said it earlier. I think they're gonna surprise some people this year. You didn't see they put out a real fun video of when an NHL team acts like a squirt team today. So you should check that out. It's on the NHL the Minnesota Wild's NHL page, and I think NHL.com shared it as well. Um, which Always fun to see the boys having a good time. Um, and the league, embracing it. But I think they're going to be another team that's going to surprise some people. Um, and I think they're going to win a lot of games they shouldn't win. I'm gonna save one of these teams for last because it's kind of the elephant in the room that everybody's talking about, but nobody's talking about. But we're gonna head a little further west here. We're gonna go to the wonderful, wonderful, cold province of Alberta here, and go to the Edmonton Oilers. Or not the Edmonton Oilers. I'm sorry. We're gonna go to the Calgary Flames. After losing so much the last couple of seasons, I don't really know what they're going to do with the current roster. I think, you're going to see a lot of what you saw last year where they try to play that defensive game and, just pick their opportunities as they come along. But unfortunately, I don't foresee that happening anytime soon, like that leading them to the playoffs. You can rip me to shreds, all you Calgary fans out there. Your building looks cool from the outside, but from what I understand, it kind of needs refurbed and replaced. Um, which they got plenty of money. They sell out most games. We're gonna head a little bit south of there, back south of the border. Um, we covered the wilds. A little further west there, we're gonna get to. I mean, we can head real south. Phoenix, which is no longer there, but we can talk about Utah here in a minute. Um, their home opener apparently was not exactly as successful as people thought. But their prices at concessions are ridiculous if you haven't checked them out. Um, Again, that's a team that personally, I don't think they're going to do anything this year. I think they're a couple years off from doing much of anything. They got to figure out what the hell to do with that entire roster that was sitting in Phoenix with no money for years and years and years and years. And now you got to start convincing guys to come to a city that has no real history of hockey. Um, Outside the Olympics and a couple of minor league teams here and there. So if you're out in Utah, good luck this season. Wish you guys the best, but it's I don't think it's looking too hot for you guys. I'm doing all this basically from memory um, on location of teams here. So if I forget anybody, please give me a hard time. Um, the What do we got next? Heading back up a little further north. So I love drawing a map in my head. Oh, we got the Chicago Blackhawks. It's going to depend this year on what Bedard does, and who they bring in to support him because they didn't really do a ton in the offseason to bring anybody in to support him. I know they still got some big contracts left over from guys retiring after signing contracts at 35, money they had to withhold from trading guys away to get out of it. Um, you know, I think they're a couple years off, but they're headed in the right direction. Bedard's just a fantastic, fantastic player, and it's gonna be really cool to watch him grow into what he's gonna be. Um, I mentioned Sid the kid. Forgot to mention, that kid's come a long way. I call him a kid. He's 2 years older than me, but he's come a long way from living in Mario Lemieux's basement, and then the apartment over his garage, to being the best in the NHL at this point. Um, well, for the last like 15, 20 years. Um, but we're gonna keep heading down that train a little west. And I believe we're about to hit the West Coast here, because I'm holding off on a specific team, and you'll figure out why. But we'll start up in British Columbia with the Vancouver Canucks. Um, no need to fear anybody who lives up there about having another riot this year because you are not going to the Cup Finals. You guys will be lucky to squeak into the playoffs. I think you guys are a bubble team on the outside looking in at best. At worst, you guys are going to finish pretty low in your division. Um, that's not going to be super great for you guys. I already did the Stars earlier, so all you Stars fans out there, you're going to have to give us a listen later. Again from the beginning. I'll go over some more with them in a minute. I touched on the Avalanche as well. Um, the heading in that western conference area. On the West Coast, we're going to go a little further north to the Kraken, or a little further south rather, to the Kraken that I've forgotten. Um, they're it they're heading the right direction. To be, like the second coming of the Vegas Golden Knights. Um, that team that finds early success in their first year, and they just keep building on that. They obviously didn't go as far as the Golden Knights did their first season, but they were entertaining hockey and a very skilled roster. You head a little south of that, or yeah, a little south of that. We get to the great state of California. Yeah, the Anaheim Ducks. I think you're looking at more of the same from the last 2 to 3 years, where that team, you know, uh, they got to commit to a full rebuild. I don't think that team is even close to the playoffs yet. Um, I've been wrong in the past. Usually doesn't happen as often as it used to. But yeah, I just don't see it. Unfortunately, I just don't see it. Um, then we can continue heading in that southward direction again. We'll head a little bit east, because I forgot the Vegas Golden Knights. I think you're going to see about the exact same thing. That roster really hasn't changed. Max Pacioretty, all those guys are still there. They got a good core of guys. You know, all the other NHL GMs kind of learned their lesson not to let a team build a super team with guys who just needed a fresh start somewhere. Um, so they didn't send all their superstars in trade before the expansion draft to Kraken this time. Um, but so the Ron Francis and company up in Seattle had to be a little bit more savvy with their picks there. But I do think, you're gonna get the Vegas Knights making a deeper run, as usual. For at least the next couple of years. Goaltending's the only real question mark. That could go either direction. Um, but we'll see with them. They're definitely going to make the playoffs. They might get bounced early. I don't really see that happening though. Um, Now heading back to the West Coast again, we're going to talk here just a touch on the LA Kings. They're a frustrating team if you're a Kings fan, going from being, pardon the lack of creative terminology here, but they're the fucking kings of the NHL for several years there, beating up on a very star-studded New Jersey Devils team and a very star-studded New York Rangers team. Going undefeated through the conference finals into the Stanley Cup. They were absolutely unstoppable in that 2012 playoffs. Even coming in as an eighth seed, it was nuts. The That roster is semi intact. Anse Kopitar is still there. Drew Doughty is still there, but the rest of them are not there. Um, not a great core left over, unfortunately. But you don't really know. They were having problems with Johnny Quick, because he wasn't able to win 30 games by himself every season, 40 games by himself every season. So they sent him packing, and he's regained form with a lot less workload in New York. So good on him. Um, but here's the last topic of the evening that I'm gonna bring up. And we're right at about 35 minutes, so it went about 5 minutes over what I thought we were going to be able to do by myself, just in case. Mark just got back to me. He got tied up a little bit. Fortunately, couldn't make it in. We're going to talk about what should be the best team in the NHL, and a player who is deserved a ring basically since day one of walking in. And he's currently the best player in the world, Connor McDavid. And you can just see the frustration on his face every single season. They underperform. The regular season, they crush it. The postseason, they just choke. And it's not because of him, it's everybody else around him. Um, the dude won the Conn Smythe as a loser last year. And good on him for saying, I'm not going out there to accept that trophy. Fuck that, we lost. The videos of him flipping out in the line and just going and screaming at his team are, that's old school hockey right there. That's a true leader. and I think Edmonton needs to get it done this year, or he's going to demand a trade publicly. I hope he doesn't, because I always think that's kind of a dick move to do. I would much rather like to see him just ask quietly through his agent, and do it that way. But I think Edmonton's going to shut that down, so he might be forced to go public. Um, but you don't really know. I think they make the Western Conference Finals. But I think that's just about it for the Edmonton Oilers. I don't think I missed anybody this time. Oh, Utah, not an expansion team, doesn't get the benefit of the expansion draft. Um, didn't really touch on them in depth because there's not really much to talk about. It's basically just the Phoenix Coyotes moved 2 states over. Their roster's not great yet. Their team name kind of is boring. Utah Hockey Club. This ain't soccer. Um, so I don't really like just hockey club. Like actually name your team something. Um, there's a lot better options out there, like the Utah Yetis and things of that nature. Um, but best of luck to everybody who moved out there to Utah. It's always tough to uproot your families. Always tough to be sent on semi unexpectedly to a new city. Um, so best of luck to those guys getting settled in. Um, but anyway, guys, sorry for the shorter show this week. Um, Adam wasn't feeling well. Ended up having to take the week off. And Mark ended up tied up, my backup there. Um, so that kind of stinks, but it is what it is. I can carry a show by myself. Next week, worst case, I'll get some of the other boys from some of the other shows, some familiar faces for you. You know, a little bit of Dan Boyer action, a little bit of Ashton action. Maybe we'll even get Roscoe in here to talk shit on everybody else. That said, how about my Mets heading to the National League Championship Series? Real happy about that. Um, it's been a while since the Mets even made the playoffs. Great success for them. And congrats to you Rangers fans down there in Texas on your World Series championship. Overdue down there. And best of luck, hockey fans. It's going to be a great season. It's always a great season. It's my way too early picks. Next week we will go further in depth on get Adams figures, and we're gonna do some hot takes next week. So tune in next week, same bad time, same bad place. Thursdays 9 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern, because we got a lot more people in Central time zone. But again, guys, it's always fun hopping on here, um, getting to talk a little bit of hockey with you guys for 45 minutes, whether or not I got a guest in, or whether or not I got a co-host, or just got to do it by myself. Um, might open up, try to figure out this week how to open up the ability for you guys to, basically say you want to call in here, um, and hop in and make some comments yourself. But hope everybody's doing well out there. Stay safe. Stay stay dry if you're in the path of anything crazy. And have a great week, great hockey season, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.